Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. You may have noticed the surroundings have changed just a little bit. We are working on a bit of construction here at our house, and as a result I have had to relocate my sewing space. So things will look a little bit different for a couple of weeks, but hopefully in the next few months we will be back on track and back into a slightly bigger space with hopefully slightly better lighting. Until then, I hope you still enjoy our adventures. I'm going to be working on quite a few projects here, some for my niece, some for my kiddos, some for myself, and I think we've got a lot of great content in store. Today we are going to be working on a first communion dress for my niece, Lily. It is a small special thing that I do for each of my nieces. They get small baptism dresses and first communion dresses or any special princess dresses that they ask for from Aunt Lexi, and I'm pretty excited to offer that for them. I spent a good 30 to 45 minutes on FaceTime with my niece and my sister about a week or two ago, talking about all of the things that she really wanted in her white dress, in her princess dress. And a lot of the things that she brought out were princess and lace and shimmering and sparkling. So that's exactly what I'm going to do for her. Now, I don't have a specific pattern for this dress. I'm kind of winging it here. So I will walk you guys through what I do and what process I take when I am making these special dresses for my nieces. While in the past I have just had them pick a pattern and I've made it over the years, they have come to know that Aunt Lexi likes to be a little bit extra, and so they like to ask for extra special things. So I'm going to be doing a sweetheart neckline for her with just a basic bodice pattern, child's bodice pattern. I'm going to use a lovely satin as the underbodice, and because she did want lace, lace was kind of her special ask, I am going to be using this kind of delicate flower lace. It has a beautiful scallop on the top, so that will go across the top here. It will also be on the bottom of the skirt. I have a basic lining material for the very bottom underskirt. I have this silky, shimmery, gauzy cloth for the second underskirt, or kind of the petticoat skirt. And then of course we will do this lovely lace using the same lace that we're using in the top for the bodice and the sleeves as the overlay for the top portion of the skirt. I don't have my niece here close by to do all of the special measurements and fittings, so I got those measurements from her mama, my sister, and then I have made a small dress form just using those measurements. I've stuffed it, and we'll start by looking at that and seeing how we're going to be putting these pieces together to make a beautiful dress that hopefully won't require a single fitting before it gets to my niece. Alright, and here is the dress form that I made using my niece's measurements. I went ahead and took her shoulder measurements, bust measurement, waist measurement, hip measurement, also took the measurements from shoulder to waistline. I took arm's eye measurements, etc. All of the things you're really going to be looking for if you are going to be making a garment without someone being there for a final fitting. Once I had those, it's very easy for a child's dress form. For an adult, when you're dealing with bust sizes, etc., it's a little bit different. But for a child's dress form, once you have those measurements, you basically can plot them out on your piece of paper using a basic kind of curving. You can make that basic shape, sew it together, put a little bit of a top onto it. I like to do a flatter top here for the shoulder pieces to sit on. I like adding a hanger because then I can hang things up in the closet, get them out of the way, or hang it on a stand for display if I'm wanting things to drape a little bit differently. For this one, I just went and stuck it on the top of my dress form stand. So you'll notice the adult size dress form stand is off, the child's is on. I stuffed it with basic batting, and now I've got something I can fit the dress to. It may be a little bit more round. It's not perfect by any means, but it's definitely going to help make sure that I get a decent fit, a good fit for this dress before I mail it out, since we're not going to be able to do a final fitting on it. Here we are with a basic petticoat onto the dress form. I know that my niece does have a petticoat, and so I'm going to go ahead and make this dress with my petticoat underneath, I know it's not the exact same size, but it's going to give me an idea of fullness for the skirt. Here is our first layer. This is the underskirt that we have made out of white lining material. Here we have our overlay of our fabulously sheer, gauzy princess fabric. The edges are very raw at the moment. They're not perfect yet. That's okay. What we're doing is building the basic underlayment of the skirt. Our first layer here, we used a basic skirt shape. I didn't use any waist, so I created triangles out of the fabric, making sure that I had a large enough waistband. I did that using those triangle portions in order to create a large surface area at the bottom and a smaller waist, but there is still some gathering to create a little bit of body. For this overskirt, I did use 2 big rectangles of fabric. It's about 3 yards, and so there's 2 layers of 3 yards of fabric gathered at the top, drawn into the correct measurement, and then stitched together. And then we've gone ahead and zipped up the back of that to close it up, leaving just a small gap for a zipper to go into, and we've overlaid that. So it's going to create quite a bit of body and that lovely sheer flowing feeling that a good princess dress ought to have. From here, we're going to go ahead and make the bodice portion first, and then we'll do the top skirt. Once we have done the bodice, we will go ahead and put that directly on to the lower skirts, and then we will add the zipper into the back last. All right, the last little video clip I had was of the bodice with the sweetheart neckline, and I'm not sure if any of you can spot where we went wrong, but with the lace that I chose for this project with the scalloping across the top, I thought the sweetheart neckline would look really nice, and it would, but the particular bodice pattern that I had pulled out of my stash and used ended up being too high on the collar, and as a result, once I attempted to overlay the lace, you couldn't really see any of the scalloping or the lace at all, and it wouldn't really line up with the arms. So I ended up completely scrapping it, and naturally, because I was frustrated, I neglected to hit the record button on my camera. So I did not, unfortunately, record what I did to change the bodice, but we can kind of walk through it and talk about it. So I took the original bodice, I took the pieces back apart, and I began to rework them. I did most of it on the dress form itself. I also pulled up a picture that I had gotten as a reference for something that my niece really likes. And we can see we've got some lace scalloping across the top, and underneath it does have a sweetheart neckline, but it appears to have a slightly lower sweetheart neckline, and it looks like it has almost spaghetti straps, and it is to those straps that the sleeves attach. But because the neckline is lowered and there's not a large or rather a wide shoulder strap, you don't have to worry about the lace coming all the way up to the top. So that's what I've done. I have taken it back apart, and we can kind of see we'll need to do a little bit of starch. That's okay. I have already made the satin bodice underlay, and I have gone ahead and basted the lace to the satin, so it's now one fabric. All right, guys, now we can see the bodice that has been reworked. We've got the satin sweetheart underline. Here we've taken away the really wide shoulder straps, which is going to make a really big difference in how this is fitting. It also, by taking away those wide straps, I don't have to pull this lace up onto the shoulder. It can come straight across. And then we can cut out the sleeves out of the material here, and everything will become tied in. I'm a little bit bummed the initial pattern didn't work out, mostly because it definitely did mean that I spent quite a bit more time working on it than I needed to, but I'm actually much, much happier with this as it is right now. You can really see the lovely scalloping of the lace, the sweetheart neckline. It really actually ended up being more defined this way, and I think the dress will actually have a better fit, as we can see through the bodice. I have not made this horribly, horribly tight because this is made for a little girl and I don't want it to be skin tight, but it is fitting better than the previous pattern I had used, because while I don't necessarily want it to be skin tight, I also don't want it to just be billowing out fabric here. I want it to still have a nice, lovely fit, because in doing that, I'm going to let the whole princess dress fit better. Next on our list for this lovely princess dress is to inset the sleeves. Insetting the sleeves is going to help us determine exactly how the rest of the bodice is going to fall, and how we need to have the back lined up after we have it inset to the skirt. The other reason I would like to do the sleeves next is we are going to be doing the sleeves out of lace. I don't want to do the skirt first and then find out I'd run out of lace, so I'm going to make the sleeves first, and then we'll be able to utilize everything that we have left of our lace for the skirt. Now, when we are talking about sleeves, the basic shape of most sleeves is this lovely bell curve. And that's exactly what we're going to be using today. Now I'm going to be using the smaller size. This is coming all the way into the size 4 here, as my niece is she's quite small, and so I'm going to go ahead and use that, and I'm going to use this basic shape for creating the shoulder cap of the sleeve. What this does is it allows there to be some gathering at the top of the sleeve, and then it drapes down. It comes sets into the pocket, the arm's eye pocket. That gives the sleeve movement so that the person's arms aren't pinned down to their side like it might be if it were a straight inset sleeve. This isn't the exact sleeve I'm going to use because I am going to be doing long sleeves, but what I think I will probably do is simply trace out my lovely bell curve. This is a child's size sleeve, so it's an appropriate one to use, and then I will simply measure from the top of the cap to the bottom of the wrist, which is where she wants her sleeves to go, and then taper it in appropriately to match closely with her size wrist. Hey guys, welcome back. I am doing a little update before I dive into the final reveal of our beautiful First Communion dress that I am making for my niece. Unfortunately, after I finished the bodice, got the lace skirt put on to our petticoat layers, and attached everything together, I realized I had made a pretty big mistake. I measured the lace for the lace overskirt incorrectly. I had given myself a couple of extra inches in order to ensure that even after I had done the gathers at the top and applied the lace overskirt to the sheer and very angelic petticoat layers, that I would still be able to see the lace scalloping at the bottom of the skirt. And I definitely did have that lace scalloping. Unfortunately, I was a little bit too aggressive with the amount of extra length that I gave myself. And so after I had finished it and put everything up on the dress form, I really felt like the lace overskirt was too long. And when I remeasured it against the measurements of my niece, I found that it was very likely going to be touching the floor, which is not something you want in a young girl's dress. You really want it to be up off the floor so they're not tripping on it. So I attempted over the course of the next few days to try and make a few alterations to the dress without completely taking it apart, to see, could I do some type of bunting to the bottom of the lace, something similar to, say, a Disney belle dress, the yellow belle dress, where it has the beautiful scallops and bunting. Could I do that to the lace and make it look really nice and avoid completely taking the entire dress apart? And the answer was no. I could not. I really didn't like how anything that I attempted to do looked, and so I inevitably just took everything back apart, took the bodice off, took the lace off, and so the entire dress is sitting in pieces on my work table. And today I would like to work on cutting the lace back by a few inches. I triple measured the petticoat skirts, and my hope is this time I will be just having the scallop of the bottom of the lace barely going past those to show. And then we'll get everything put back together, put the zipper back into the back, add the belt, and then we can get this beautiful dress sent out to my niece so that she can get it in time for her big event. All right, we're finally to that point in the video where we get to do the final reveal. So here is the dress that I made for my niece for her first communion. I really hope that it's everything she was hoping for. In the beginning, she had showed me a variety of different pictures with dresses that she really liked, saying, I like the top of this one, but I like the side of this one. And I did my very best to make sure to combine all of those things. I created a petticoat skirt that has lots of princess swooshing, which was one of her requests. There is this split opening in the front with the lace overlay skirt, which was one of her requests. Of course, the scalloped edges across the front, and I made sure the scalloped edges of the lace came into the cuffs of the dress as well as along the bottom of the skirt as well, and I'm very happy with how that turned out. There's a small detail that she also requested, a snowflake belt. So a small snowflake with rhinestones right here. It's on a simple satin ribbon, and that's just tied around the waist. I did close it up with a simple white zipper and hook and eye at the top, and then hid that into the back. So this is adjustable. Overall, I'm very pleased with how this make went, even though I did have to jog back and do a few things a little bit different. So I hope that my niece loves this dress as much as I love it on the little dress form. And I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. If you did like this video where we did go ahead and draft our own pattern for a beautiful little girl's princess dress for her first communion, please, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would love for you to come along my sewing journeys with me. Thank you guys so much. Bye.